Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hope we had a great day. So we are starting immediately because this is already 7 p.m., right? So good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first official learning of the day. And I am sincerely grateful to everyone who joined on time. I'm sincerely grateful for your time, all right? Please, can you help me confirm that you can hear me? Please, if you can hear me, kindly confirm that you can hear me so that we don't go far and then only to realize that you cannot hear me. All right. Please
Ma,
help me confirm. All right. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, please, we need to drop our names in the chat box. Okay, if you are already on the call, please drop your name in the chat box so that we know the persons who are in class, and then we're going to take attendance immediately. Okay, I can see Ademola Okunaya. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Ademola Okunaya. Okay, you are welcome to class. Please drop your names in the chat box because attendance for from today till the rest of the class, attendance is very serious because this is what determines if you are going to be eligible for your certificates, right? So we take this attendance and then we compile them over the next 6 classes that we're going to be having. And everyone who misses a class or two would have to go and rewatch the video. And if there's an assignment or a test, you have to take the test before you can, qualify for your certificate. And then beyond the assignments and the test, the real purpose of making attendance mandatory is that this is a practical course, all right? Impromptu presentation mastery is an action skill. It's a skill that you learn as you do it, right? It's not something that you have to go and watch a recorded video or you have to go and start watching a recorded class to do it. And this is the main reason why we made this class a live class, right? Nothing stops us from getting into the studio, recording all these sessions, and then selling it as a pre-recorded class. But the experience would not be the same, all right? The way you experience a live course and the way you'd experience a recorded class is not the same thing. A live course gives you live interaction, it gives you live feedback, it gives you that feel that you are in a class, right? Just like how we all went to school and you can interact with the lecturer, you can ask questions, you can communicate with your course mates. All right, this is the whole idea behind creating this course. And once again, I really want to appreciate everyone who stays active on the group. I also want to appreciate everyone who has joined the class today. Last week, we had an introduction, all right, our onboarding / introduction into the world of impromptu presentation. And today, till the rest of the class, we're going to be taking a deep dive into what impromptu presentation is, the scenarios of impromptu presentation. We're also going to be looking at frameworks that makes impromptu presentation something that you can do at any point, because the whole idea of taking a course is to be able to overcome that problem. Okay, I do know that many people saw this flyer, many people saw our course flyer, many people saw the marketing materials that we put out there, but not many persons needed it because they felt like, okay, they don't need this at this time. So if you had seen the course material or the marketing copy and you felt like you needed this, then our responsibility to you is to make sure that whatever concern that brought you to this course or made you take this course becomes a thing of the past. Okay, please, I cannot see any other person's name in the chat. Although I know that some persons are in the studio and I can see some persons in the studio. So please, you have to drop your name in the chat, okay? So that we can call your name and be sure that you're in class. And then we are taking notes of these names, right? We're taking notes of these names and we're going to use it to compile the attendance. Okay, so coming to class and staying in class is still part of being in class. All right, what do I mean by that? Now, some persons will just come because of the attendance, right, and then they run away. Every session in the class matters. Every part of the class is important. Okay, so I'm going to run right into it because we have a lot to do today. But for all the persons that are joining now, thank you very much and welcome to class. Please drop your name in the chat box because we're going to run into the class immediately. All right, so today we're looking at impromptu presentation mastery for professionals. Think and speak on the spot. This is day one. This is the official day one. Okay, what we did the other day was onboarding and introduction. This is the actual day one of this course. All right, so let's get into it. Now, what are the learning objectives for today's class? By the end of this session, learners should be able to define impromptu speaking and explain how it differs from prepared presentations. Now, impromptu presentation is way different from prepared presentation. All right, somebody can call you up at any time and give you a topic at work and tell you, okay, you have 3 or 4 days to prepare for this. Sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes even a month. All right, so you have enough time to do this. But with impromptu presentation, we're looking at making sensible contributions or sensible presentations within a short notice. That is what impromptu presentation entails. An impromptu presentation can happen anywhere. Okay, it can happen in church, it can happen, in your place of worship, it can happen at work, it can happen during, an event, a birthday, a child dedication, anywhere at all, a friend's gathering. Somebody can just call you up, and sometimes it even happens where your reputation is at stake, because when it happens within your friends and you make a mistake, they'll just laugh it off and life continues. But when impromptu presentation happens at work or somewhere that your reputation is being tested, or your competence as a leader is being tested, sometimes it puts people on the spot, it makes them feel a certain way, and that's why a lot of people run away from things like this, because nobody likes to be embarrassed. All right, so number 2, you identify common situations where impromptu speaking is required in everyday life, such as your career, your academics, and leadership. Okay, number 3, you recognize the root causes of speaking anxiety and understand why fear shows up during spontaneous communication. Now, speaking anxiety is a thing, it's real. Now, there's a survey that says that 60% of persons have glossophobia as their fear. People would rather, die than speak in public. Now, the fear of public speaking is called glossophobia. All right, now, there are persons who would, in fact, they rather chew jeans. And you know how people say, I rather chew jeans than do this thing. There are persons who would rather chew jeans than make an impromptu presentation, because of how people get nervous when these things are called upon, or when they are called upon impromptu. All right, now the fourth point is, or the fourth thing you are going to achieve from this course is, you would identify your personal speaking triggers, such as fear of judgment, forgetting what to say, blanking out, or lack of confidence. Now, it's important that I do state that the reason why people actually lose their line of thought when it comes to impromptu presentation is because you have your personal triggers. All right, there are things that trigger you. Now, what are triggers? The brain works in such a way that when you are put on the spot, the first thing that comes to your mind is, I want to protect my reputation, I do not want to embarrass myself. All right, now some other persons, their own triggers can be, I don't want to go blank. The fear of going blank in between a presentation actually scares them. And now when they get into that fear and focus on that fear, it now makes it more difficult for them to be able to concentrate, right? And these things actually make people, stutter. This is where people will start stuttering. They start using filler words. They start mumbling. Some people start shaking visibly. Okay, so these triggers are the things we're going to be addressing in today's class. And then you will be also identifying your own triggers. What are my triggers? What makes me scared of impromptu presentation? Am I scared that I will get judged if I make a mistake? Or will my colleagues see me as someone who is not competent to lead a team? Or are you scared of forgetting what to say? Because sometimes when somebody calls you to make a presentation, the first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, I know a certain percentage of this topic, but when I exhaust what I know, what else can I use to say? People blank out. Now people care of blanking out, but speaking of their mind, like lose their lives. Now the most is confidence, because sometimes I genuinely was, but they have to stand up this. But it is your idea express, it, and I review best and it, because confidence would have the to market responsibly. I remember during this group, you to really to just what are the skills that person has in say no whole lot of things. One of the things that from me was when that market true of what you know. If you tell thing you know you right, if I tell that tutor more I'm sorry, please. Can you hear me? Can you confirm that you can hear me? Please, can someone confirm that they can hear me? I'm so sorry, my network flipped, so I had to switch network. Please, can you confirm that you can hear me, please? Okay. Please, can someone confirm that you can hear me? Can anybody please confirm that they can hear me? Anybody at all? Maybe in the chat or something. So that, okay, okay, thank you very much. I've seen the confirmation. Thank you so much. Okay, let's continue. I'm so sorry, my network flipped, so I had to switch networks. All right, so people, no matter how much you know something, I know that was where I stopped. No matter how much you know something, if you're not able to market that thing effectively in such a way that people can believe you, that you market it in a very convincing way that people can believe you, right? It invariably feels like you cannot even market these things. Now, in a world where AI and social media is on the rampant, and then people are making a killing out of social media, right? Your ability to communicate your value effectively actually stands you out. Your ability to sell yourself, the ability to sell what you know, actually stands you out in a very competitive world. Because the truth is that we are in a competitive world. In your office, at work, wherever you find yourself as a professional, there are persons who actually want what you have, and that's the reality of the world we live in. There are people, just by looking at you and your position, actually want what you have. And the more you are able to sell what you know, the better you stand a chance at getting your promotion, being better, continuing as a team lead or as a director or whatever position you occupy. And now your ability to not sell yourself also diminishes your chances, because nobody wants to have an employee or a boss who struggles to communicate or project the value of the company or the value that the company has to offer. All right, and that is why skills like communication and marketing are an invaluable skill. All right, not just because of your 9 to 5, but your own personal growth and development as a professional. Your ability to sell your knowledge and your experience actually makes you stand out. Now, I know that today we are expecting us to dive into teaching, but like I said, impromptu presentation is a doing skill. So before we go into definitions and frameworks, I want us to do a scenario. All right, we want to do a practical scenario, because I'm someone that is very big on role plays and scenarios. Now, in today's scenario, I'm going to call anyone randomly, and you're going to teach us one thing you know well for 2 minutes. Now, I'm going to appoint someone as our timekeeper for this class, right? Your job is to make sure that if we assign someone 2 minutes, they do their presentation within 2 minutes. And once the 2 minutes has elapsed, you just put time up, all right, in the chat box. You put time up in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and let the class know that this person's time is up, because this class is supposed to be highly interactive. All right, in as much as it's a live class, I want it to be highly interactive. All right, so our scenario play is that you're going to teach us something you know for 2 minutes, and our timekeeper is going to be Ademola. Okay, Mr. Ademola, I'm going to add you to the stage. Please confirm that you can hear me. Mr. Ademola, please, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so you're going to be our timekeeper. Now your duty is to ensure that whoever we call, right, makes a presentation in 2 minutes. They're going to teach us what they know in 2 minutes. Now I believe that everyone here is a professional, meaning that you already have a field or a professional line that you occupy. You're going to teach us as laymen something about your field for 2 minutes. Okay, it can be in the medical field, it can be in communication, it can be in administration, whatever it is. For the next 2 minutes, you're going to teach us. And now, after you teach us, we're going to ask people to review what you taught. All right. So if you teach us, let me say, for instance, if you teach us on public speaking or communication or marketing, for instance, we're going to call someone to review what you taught, right? Did they learn anything from what you taught? Now, this thing is not to make anybody feel embarrassed. Like I always say, this is a very healthy and conducive learning atmosphere. All right, so nobody is going to make jest of anybody, nobody's going to laugh at anybody. We are all here to get better at these things. All right, so not to waste our time, I'll be calling on Rosemary Uchena. Please, good evening, ma. Please kindly unmute yourself and teach us something you know for 2 minutes. But please, I need to confirm that you can hear me. Please, can you hear me? Hello, please, are you active? Are you on the group? Are you on the call? Sorry. I don't know your official designation to address you, but please, ma, are you on the call? Are you active? Are you in a place where you can talk? I'm not getting any feedback from you, ma. Please, if you're active, just unmute yourself and let us know that you are active, please. Okay, so while we wait for you, I'll also need to call on Angela. All right, Angela, please unmute yourself and teach us something you know for 2 minutes. Please confirm that you can hear me, Angela.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. All right, thank you so much for stepping up. Please teach us something you know for 2 minutes. Mr. Demola, please let us know when her time starts counting. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
so your time starts now.
this is so unaware. I'll just try my best. I am my name is Angela. I'm a customer service representative, and what I know best, or how I know to do my job, is firstly is communication skill. You have to learn how to communicate to your clients. You have to learn how to listen, how to pay attention, and how to address them calmly, because that's the most important thing. You need to understand what the person is saying, and for you to get to understand the person, that means you have to pay attention to communication. You listen and you communicate calmly. Then again, you have to, secondly, is product knowledge. Whatever you are representing, or any company you're working for, or whatever goods or services that your company render to the masses, you have to be aware of the products. You'll be able to explain your products. You'll be able to say your products, or when somebody is making a complaint about your products, it's only when you have the knowledge of your product that you'll be able to understand what the person is saying. So knowledge about the product is another thing that I feel anyone that is in my area of service should be aware of. Then thirdly is problem solving. When you have a client complaint, you have to make sure that you attend to their problems. The needs are one. If somebody called you and you tell the person, I'm going to call you back in 10 minutes, let me see what I can do in 20 minutes. Make sure you're able to do them. You have to have that skill of solving the problem. Don't just listen to their complaints and leave it there. You go onward, you go to make sure that you solve the problems. And that comes in line with time management. You have to be up and doing, learn to manage your time properly.
Time
As
up,
you're telling somebody 10
time
minutes,
up,
10 minutes, 10 minutes. Thank you.
time up.
Okay, I think we need to give her a round of applause in the chat because I'm not a customer service professional, but I was able to pick something from what she said. All right. And what stood out for me was when she talked about product knowledge, which is very, very true. If I'm going to use that in my own professional line, which is being a communications trainer and a public speaking coach, I know that product knowledge is the first and the most important thing when it comes to being able to handle customer issues, because if you do not understand your product, you might not know how to sell the product to the next person. One thing that Angela said when she started was, this is so unaware, and that is the importance or the beauty of impromptu presentation mastery, that you can get called up at any time. But one thing I did enjoy from your presentation was your ability to, put your thoughts together and still teach us something. Imagine that I was able to pick out something. All right, so I'm going to ask someone to give you a score. All right, so that we can justify, even if I've given you my feedback, people should not be biased by my feedback. Just give her a score. All right, so Ezike Chinemerem, please can you give her a score based on her presentation? What do you think her score should be?
It should be an good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Based
How are you
on,
doing?
I'm fine, ma'am. So,
Okay.
based on her presentation, you can give her a score of an 8 over 10. She tried.
8/10. So why did you give her 8/10? Why didn't you give her 10/10? What was the two?
I didn't literally hear everything because my network was disturbing, so I had to go back and log in again. But the ones that I catched, it was so okay.
All right. Thank you very much. So Angela, you see that you got 8/10 and she didn't even stay throughout the class.
Thank,
Now that's
thank you. Thank you, Chineme.
right.
I
So
appreciate.
so you can see what impromptu presentation really is. It You get called upon at any time, at any point, to make a presentation, and your ability to put your thoughts together and not disgrace yourself. Because if I were your boss and I was sitting down at the background listening to you, I'd feel like, okay, this staff actually owns this space. All right. Impromptu presentation actually puts you on the spot and tests what you know, right? And from what you were able to do, you see, somebody gave you 8/10. So well done, well done. We are all going to get better at this. All right. So I think we should take one more person before we continue the class. Now, Ezike Chinemere, for you that gave somebody 8/10, we're going to put you on the spot now. All right, we're going to put you on the spot, and I want you in 2 minutes to teach us something you know. All right, we are all using the same topic today because today is like introduction. Subsequently, I would like give everyone a different topic, but for today, let me just say, let's use the topic that is already on ground. All right, so in 2 minutes, teach us something you know, and someone is going to score you. 3, 2, 1, action. Please, Mr. Demola, let us know when her time starts counting and then when her time is up. Thank you.
Your time starts now.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. Please, ma, don't be offended. Is it what I learned from what you guys are saying or a new subtopic?
You can use anything really. Just teach us for 2 minutes on something you know, right? Your professional field, or if you are a student, you can teach us something on what you are currently studying. All right. The whole idea is for us to see how you are able to think under pressure and give us something that we can learn.
Okay, let me give you guys about what I'm studying in school. So I'm studying biochemistry, and it deals with it's a bunch of science that deals with both chemicals and then plants all together. Then and then for us to where we can also work. I don't really know much about it, though I've not asked real questions even about the course I'm studying. But I believe that I used to have public anxiety and then stage fright. I don't know how to present well in public.
Okay. But that's why
I
you're in
don't
this
even know.
class. All right. So don't worry. Let's not stress the anxiety further.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much for at least making an attempt. All right. Now, I want us to understand something about public speaking and presentation. All right. Especially when it comes to impromptu presentations, you're not supposed to think of being perfect. Perfection is an illusion when it comes to impromptu presentation. What matters most in public speaking and presentations is your ability to make something meaningful or to give something meaningful in the shortest possible time. All right. Now, when it comes to impromptu presentation and when you are given a topic such as the one I gave you, you don't need to start thinking of the general scope of everything that you are doing. Just teach us what you know, right? Maybe a definition or an example or something that leaves the listener with value. Now, one thing about communication is that you are able to give value. Just the same thing as when people create content, like content creation. Now, the whole idea of content creation is being able to put value out there in such a way that people start recognizing you for that value that you are giving. That's the same thing impromptu presentation is. Your ability to give value consistently, that people start recognizing you based on the value that you give. So for an impromptu presentation, your major focus is how can I give value in the shortest possible time. Now, there's a reason why there is a timestamp, all right, why we said 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, we expect that you are able to coordinate your thoughts and say something, no matter how small. All right. So when it comes to impromptu presentation or any presentation at all, do not look at the overall topic that is given to you. For instance, if someone calls you to make a presentation on AI or AI mastery, right? Don't start trying to understand the whole concept of AI. Define AI based on what you already know. For instance, if someone tells me to make a presentation about AI in 1 minute, I can say that AI is artificial intelligence. That's the first thing I'll start from, defining what this thing is. By the time I define it, it already creates a holistic umbrella as to everything that anybody can expect. If I say AI means artificial intelligence, it is the use of artificial knowledge to be able to provide solutions to people. I've said something, right? I didn't need to start saying that, okay, AI helps you make videos, AI helps you. That is you trying to create context. But when it comes to impromptu presentation, always think about it in what do I know about this topic and what value can I give off from this topic. That is what impromptu presentation does for you. Nobody's expecting you to know everything at once, but if you can look at it from what you know and how you are able to give value, even if you eventually start making mistakes in between the presentation, people would already use your ability to define the concept of what you're talking about and how well you are able to give value to forgive you for the mistakes. But once you start making an impromptu presentation and you're not able to coordinate your thoughts to say something meaningful in the first 2 minutes, you already give the audience a perception about you that you don't even know what you're doing. All right. And that is what we are here to crush in this course. When Angela started speaking, she was like, this is so, this is so sudden, this is so unaware. And that is it. Life is unaware. Anything can happen at any time. Your professionalism can be tested at any point. So your ability to always think of communication and presentations in bits, not in whole. We think about things in wholes, and that is why it looks like we always struggle. When you think about a topic in bits, it makes you safer, it makes you sound, it makes you calm, right? When you think about it in the bit of what do I know, and that is definition. What is this thing? What are they asking me about this thing? All right, if they're asking you what is communication, now as a human being, communication is what we do every day. Even non-verbal communication is part of communication. Even silence is a form of communication. There are persons that when they are angry, they keep quiet. That's a form of communication. So if somebody asks you what is communication, because you know that this is something you do every day, you might not want to give a dictionary definition, but you can define it in such a way that people know that you use these things and this thing is part of your life. And that is what our professions actually does for us. As a professional in your field, when people call you to make a presentation, they expect that because you're part of this field, you should know certain things about this field without stuttering, without struggling, without worrying about, oh, am I going to make a mistake? Am I going to, get myself embarrassed and all of that? The whole idea about presentation and communication is your ability to define topics in bits, right? Great communicators are persons who are able to define topics in bits. Start from what you know before you now start trying to explain what you don't know, right? So let's move into the class for the day. Now we just had to take only 2 persons for now because we still have a lot to cover. Okay, now what is impromptu speaking or impromptu presentation? Impromptu speaking is a speech or presentation delivered with little or no prior preparation. The speaker is usually given a topic, question, or scenario on the spot and is expected to organize their thoughts quickly and speak confidently. Think of it as speaking intelligently under pressure. Now, impromptu presentation is your ability to speak intelligently under pressure. Just like when Angela was put under pressure by being asked to talk, right? Immediately, the first thing she said was, "Oh, this is unaware." Her mind was under pressure, but for her to be able to calm herself down and still share something that I took a lesson from, it shows that no matter how much you are under pressure, impromptu presentation actually gets better when you are able to make something meaningful out of what you are asked under pressure, right? Impromptu presentation is your ability to speak intelligently under pressure. Now, I'll take this definition again. An impromptu speaking is a speech or presentation delivered with little or no prior preparation. Nobody prepares you. As even I told us in the group chat, or Jovel, who is the programs coordinator, told us in the group chat that, okay, when you come on the live class, we're going to be asking you to teach us for 2 minutes what you know. Everyone will start preparing. Everyone would have, had something to say, probably Googled a full speech on ChatGPT to make a presentation. But this time around, nobody was informed. You just got on the live call and you were asked a topic, right? Or you were asked to make a presentation. And irrespective of how pressured you felt at the moment, you were still able to deliver something. All right, now the speaker is usually given a topic, question, or scenario on the spot and is expected to organize their thoughts quickly and speak confidently. All right, think of it as speaking intelligently under pressure. Now, what are the examples of when impromptu presentation happens? Right, the first one is that you are asked to introduce yourself unexpectedly in a meeting. Now, when you go for some certain high-level meetings, right, persons like people will tell you, okay, introduce yourself. Now you know yourself. It's not like it's a new person or a different person. It's not like you are introducing a stranger. You are introducing yourself. But have you ever asked yourself that why do people even struggle to introduce their own selves? Because at that instance, you're trying to have a holistic idea, create a holistic picture of who you are and what you do and what you represent without losing your line of thought. And in the process of trying to gather all of these things, you now lose your line of thought. Do you understand? So it's more like the more you look, the less you see, that kind of a thing. Now, the second situation is a manager says, can you share your thoughts on this project right now? For persons who have, stand-up meetings in the office, you are in the office, the meeting is going well, nobody told you that they are going to ask you about your department, and all of a sudden your line manager now says, can you share your thoughts on this project, like immediately? And everyone is looking at you. There's silence in the room. Everybody is preparing their minds to receive what you have to say. And then your line of thought disappears. All right. So these are some situations where impromptu presentations happen. Now you are in a job interview and you are asked, why should we hire you? Now, for the persons who stayed for our onboarding, like through the onboarding last week, we actually did a scenario where we practiced, why should we hire you? All right. You give us a reason why we should hire you. You tell us why you should be hired. Now, these things are real life situations. These things are things that all of us might have experienced in one way or the other, because I do believe that before we all got to where we are today, there was a certain level of interview. There were times when we had to take a test, when we had to meet an interviewer, when we had to sell ourselves. All right. Now, these are some of the situations where impromptu presentation really occurs. Or you are a student, for instance, and the lecturer calls on you to explain a concept without notice. Now, it's unfortunate that our current educational system does not promote public speaking or does not help students strengthen their communication skills. But the truth is that once you enter the real world, these things are inevitable. Nobody prepares you for these things. Nobody gives you a course or a crash course or a school or a mentor or someone that holds your hands and helps you become better in communication. But once you step into life, you will see these things. All right. And now I'm saying this for the persons who are students and, the persons who signed up for our course as probably people that are doing their NYSC or just about to get into the workforce. All right. Now you need to give a toast pitch an idea, or answer a panel question instantly. The situations where impromptu presentation can happen is enormous. Impromptu presentation can happen at any point in your life as a professional, and these things are inevitable, except maybe you want to live in isolation, and nobody lives or grows in isolation, except maybe you want to, build your career in the wings of your house or your own shell, or you don't want to interact with people, or you want to work remotely. And even if you work remotely, bosses now are also doing impromptu presentation. They can call you up at any time and put you on the spot, and then you are struggling to sell yourself. Okay, impromptu presentation happens anywhere. I'm sure I've been able to lay a good foundation of what impromptu presentation is, and then the examples of when impromptu presentation happens. Now, what are key characteristics of impromptu presentations? All right, what makes impromptu presentation different from other forms of presentation? That is just what this key characteristics of impromptu presentation means. So when you hear key characteristics of impromptu presentation, just know that we're trying to discuss what makes impromptu presentation different from other types of presentations. Now, impromptu presentation is remarkable for minimal preparation time. All right, usually within 30 seconds to 2 minutes, or none at all. Okay, so sometimes a person can put you on the spot impromptu, and you have 2 minutes to prepare. Now, if they give you 2 minutes to prepare, trust me, you have enough time to prepare. Sometimes they can even put you on the spot and you are meant to start talking immediately. There is no break, no time, no space, especially when you are doing your Monday, stand-up meetings and your Monday presentations, or you're doing your Monday review with your boss, and they ask you to tell us about your department in 2 minutes, or they tell you, okay, please, can you share or throw some light on the project your team is working on? These things are times when you cannot say, okay, give me 2 minutes, let me go and prepare, because they genuinely believe that if you are a part of this process, you should know what is going on in the process. All right. Now, one of the greatest key characteristics of impromptu presentation is minimal preparation time. The time for preparation in impromptu presentation is very small. All right. Now, another thing is quick thinking and idea organization. I can tell you for free that one thing that would make you a great impromptu speaker is your ability to think quickly, all right, and to organize your ideas. Your ability to think quickly and organize your ideas. It doesn't matter how much you know, just give us something to go home with. And that is why I'll still commend Angela for being able to put her thoughts together on the spot and carry us along through her profession as a customer relationship officer or a customer success professional. All right, it is your ability to think quickly as to what do I know about this subject matter, and how can I make a meaningful presentation or give a meaningful speech out of this subject matter that I already know. Now, impromptu presentation is also characterized by clear structure despite spontaneity. All right, in as much as impromptu presentation happens spontaneously, you are supposed to be able to structure your thoughts. Okay, what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? What is the most important thing to say at this point? Now, that is structure, because the moment you are trying to juggle too many things, that is the moment you start getting scared, or that's the moment you start making mistakes. But if you start thinking of communication and presentation in bits and bytes, in forms of structures and frameworks, all right, it gives you direction. If at all you are called at any point, what do I need to use to communicate this idea? What framework am I going to do? Definition, example, conclusion. That's a type of framework. Now, we're going to be learning different frameworks when it comes to impromptu presentation, but definition, example, conclusion is a type of framework. For instance, what is public speaking? Public speaking is the act of sharing what you know to an audience in public. Example, when a teacher is preaching in church. Conclusion, public speaking is an inevitable part of our lives. Now, you can see that I didn't try to travel everywhere and say, as a professional, you must know public speaking, you must have this. No, you just use definition, example, conclusion. That's a framework, and you're good to go. All right. So your ability to think of public speaking, or your ability to think of impromptu presentation in bits and frameworks, actually makes you a great speaker. And not just impromptu presentation, in any form of presentation at all. You're called to make a speech, you're called to give a toast, you're called to make a presentation that you actually prepare for. Always make your presentations or make your preparation in forms of bits and structures. All right, structure what you want to say, have a structure for what you want to tell people, and the moment you start thinking in structures, it makes it extremely easy for you to be able to share your thoughts and share your ideas without losing your line of thought. Because once you think of presentation in structures, you already know that, okay, the moment I make a definition, the next thing is to give an example, and then I end. Nobody is going to kill you for talking for giving a slow point, but people are going to look at you in a certain way if you're not even able to say anything meaningful. All right, now you can see the way I was able to do mine when I talked about public speaking. I used definition, example, conclusion, and everyone can actually say that I made a presentation. So even if they gave me 2 minutes, I must not exhaust my 2 minutes. If I want to use 1 second or 1 minute to make my point, I've made my point and I did not embarrass myself. All right, now another key characteristics of impromptu presentation is confidence and composure under pressure. Nothing tests your composure like impromptu presentation, because at that point you are struggling to keep yourself in order. Okay, but one thing that I would like to say is that don't let what is happening inside you determine what is happening outside you. I'll take that again. Don't let what is happening inside you determine what is going to happen outside you. All right, people should not understand your internal chaos. I can be fidgeting as I'm making this class, I can be shaking, but the way I'm teaching, the way I'm taking my time, the way I'm carrying everyone along, the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, this lady is very confident. How sure are you that I'm confident? Now, one thing you need to understand is people believe what you show them more than what you say. That is why people say that you should look at a person's actions over their words. That's why they say action speaks louder than words. All right? People believe what you show them more than what you say. If you are called to make an impromptu presentation, and even if your internal organ wants to explode, but your ability to stay calm, sometimes you see some persons, you say that they are doing big man. They're not doing big man anything. They are trying to coordinate their thoughts. Sometimes when you are speaking to someone who is very successful and they're talking one, you say, this person have made it though. I want to be like this person when I grow up. Sometimes these persons have mastered the act of coordinating their thoughts and projecting composure. Now, everything about a human being is projection, right? Fear is projection. Wealth is projection. Why do you think that there are a lot of very rich persons who still look tacky and uncoordinated? It is what they are projecting. And you see someone who is barely a student, who is trying to survive, and they are able to coordinate themselves, and they're able to comport themselves. And even if you don't know how much is in this person's bank account, this person is able to comport themselves. Why do you call somebody a rich person? It's just that this person has a way of comporting themselves. Why do you call somebody a madman or a madwoman? Is their projection, their composure, how they're able to comport themselves. So the same thing happens in impromptu presentation or any presentation at large, right? When you are called to make a presentation, the first thing you need to do is to comport yourself internally first, and then it wells from inside out. Okay, if you're able to comport yourself internally, invariably your body system will start adjusting to you being calm. Now, when we were communicating last week, when we were having our onboarding, I told us that one of the greatest things you can do for yourself as a speaker or any human being is the ability to handle communication from a point of doing people a favor. All right. Now, for instance, Angela was called to teach us something on communication. That's her field as a customer representative. All of us here who are professionals in different phases, we don't know anything about her topic or her field or her level of expertise. Now, for her to share what she knows with us, it means that she's doing us a favor. So aside from what I know as, a medical doctor or a tech professional, I'm using that for instance, right? Because Angela was able to teach me something about customer success, such as knowing your product, I can use what she taught me to add it to my own profession. Angela has invariably done me a favor because she taught me something I do not know. And that is the mindset that we're supposed to have as professionals when we are handling impromptu presentation. Always look at it from the point of, I'm doing these people a favor. I'm trying to teach you something you don't know, so you have to listen to me, all right? But sometimes, because we've not built this psychological well-being and this psychological structure, we always feel like the audience is judging us. But if you actually approach communication and presentation from a point of doing people a favor, your composure changes, your disposition changes, the way you handle it changes, because if you are doing somebody a favor, you are taking your time. They are the ones that need you. You don't need them. Right now, that's the mindset. Now, it's not like you have to start doing it arrogantly, but I'm trying to help you understand the psychology of becoming a great speaker or becoming a great communicator. It starts with your mind, right? Everything about being a successful person starts in the mind. That is why they say success is first a mindset thing. Most times when you go and meet all these aspire to perspire people, the first thing they'll tell you is mindset, mindset, mindset. And sometimes we look at them as people who are just trying to be motivational speakers. But the greatest truth about being successful or being a failure in anything is that you have to work on your mind, right? Your ability to work on your mind actually controls how you are able to succeed in anything. And communication is not an exception. Please give me 2 minutes. All right, I'm so sorry, please. I'm so sorry. So, like I was saying, your ability to think of whatever you have to tell people in the place of doing them a favor actually makes you a more confident speaker. It makes you a more confident employee. It makes you a more confident boss. All right. It makes you a more confident presenter. And sometimes you see certain people when they are making presentations, they stay so calm and they pick their words one after the other. And you're now saying, this person, you be like, say you get pride. Oh, no, it's not pride. It's them actually approaching what they are doing from a place of comfort and confidence, not fear. All right, because the moment you let fear creep in, it starts affecting your external disposition. Now, another characteristics of impromptu presentation is concise delivery. Most times, because the time frame is short, people do not expect you to say so much. They just expect you to be concise, to go straight to the point, right? So one thing about impromptu presentation is your ability to take people from point A to point B without confusing them. It's as simple as that. Take them from point A to point B without confusing them or confusing yourself. It has to be concise. Most times they can tell you, okay, please, in 2 minutes, just help us round up, or in 1 minute, just help us, share what you think about this thing. Impromptu presentation, they don't usually give you like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like a prepared presentation, because people know that you have to be able to coordinate your thoughts. All right, you have to be able to put your thoughts in order. So they naturally would not give you a long time frame. They will not give you a long time frame. They'll just tell you to do this thing in the shortest possible time. All right, now let's go over to the next slide. But then I'm going to run this over again. Key characteristics of impromptu presentation. Number 1, minimal preparation time. Number 2, quick thinking and idea organization. Number 3, clear structure despite spontaneity. Number 4, confidence and composure under pressure. Number 5, concise delivery. Now we can go to the next slide. Now, this is a simple example. All right, if someone says speak for 2 minutes on the importance of teamwork, an impromptu speaker might quickly structure their response like this. The first thing is introduction. Now, this is another framework. All right, the first framework I used was definition, example, conclusion. This is another framework. This is introduction, main point 1, main point 2, conclusion. Now, what determines the type of framework you're going to use is the amount of time that is designated for that presentation. All right, if you are given 5 minutes, for instance, you know that if you do definition, example, conclusion, you won't be able to exhaust 5 minutes, right? So you start asking yourself, which of the frameworks that we're going to be learning in this class best exhaust this time without me losing my line of thought? Now, let's look at this particular framework, which is introduction, main point 1, main point 2, conclusion. Now, the first thing you need to do when you're given a topic is to do an introduction, right? Based on what you know. Now, you can talk about the first point, which is trying to, give life to the introduction that you've done. Now, the main point 2 is where you now flesh it out and balance it up. Then your conclusion is where you come to a logical conclusion. Now, we're going to use a sentence example to be able to understand this framework very well. But this is a framework that you can use to make a presentation on a topic such as the importance of teamwork. You can use the introduction, main point 1, main point 2, conclusion. Now, let's see a sentence example of this thing. Now, what is a sentence use case? Introduction. Under the introduction, you can say teamwork helps people achieve goals faster and better. That's an introduction. You've actually introduced what teamwork is, right, and what it does. Even if you say only this thing, you have been able to say something meaningful. Teamwork helps people achieve goals faster and better. Now, the reason why you will not stop at this introduction is because there is a time frame, all right? And that's why I said that your use of any framework is dependent on the time frame allocated for that framework. All right, now the reason why you will not stop at introduction is because there is a time frame. Now if you only use this introduction, that's within 1 minute or 1 second or 30 seconds max. All right, you've not been able to exhaust the time that is given to you. Now by the time you move over to main point 1, you can say because different people bring different strengths. All right, now you've said teamwork helps people achieve goals faster and better because different people bring different points. Now we have to break the sentence down so that you can see where the main point is. Now the main point 1 is, why do you think this thing? Now we all know that in English, because means a justification. When you use things like because, you're trying to justify an idea or you're trying to justify a point. Do you understand? So when you say because different people bring different strengths, now you have given a main point. All right, now your main point 2 can be, and collaboration improves problem solving. This is a different point on its own because we all know that collaboration actually does improve problem solving. For instance, if I'm the only person in my team, I'm the one that does announcements, I'm the one that is the programs coordinator, I'm the one that is the activity experience manager, I'm the one that is the content writer, I'm the one that is, I will get exhausted and I won't even be able to deliver on my own core requirements as a trainer because I'm everywhere. I'm trying to handle multiple things. But because of teamwork, you can delegate duties to people. Now you can see that if you are called to make a presentation and you use this structure, you have already brought out your first point. Now you have given it flesh by adding another point. Now you can conclude by saying, so we can say that strong teams create stronger results through teamwork. This is a framework that you can use. And like I said, frameworks are used dependent on the time frame allocated to whatever presentation you are asked to make. Now let's look at the breakdown here. Introduction: teamwork helps people achieve faster and better, right? It helps people achieve goals faster and better because different people bring different strengths, and collaboration improves problem solving. So we can say that strong teams create stronger results through teamwork. This is a very simple way of solving that problem or answering that question, right? Now let's go back to the question. The question is, can you speak for 2 minutes on the importance of teamwork? Now your answer is so structured that you're not under pressure. You're able to answer the question effectively, and you have been able to do justice to the topic without losing your line of thought. So one thing we need to understand as professionals or as persons who are trying to master the act of communicating is that, first of all, understand what you are being asked, right? If they ask you what is communication, or can you tell us why communication is relevant for professionals? First of all, you can introduce your speaking by saying communication is the lifeline of every successful entrepreneur or business person, because this helps you sell yourself effectively. Without communication, people struggle to understand the value you bring. I can strongly say that communication is an invaluable skill for professionals. Now, if you paid attention to my own presentation, you can see how I was able to use the framework. If you paid attention to what I was sharing, you can see how I was able to use this framework without necessarily making you know that I'm using a framework. But in my head, because I've internalized these things, I was already using this framework: introduction, main point 1, main point 2, conclusion. All right, so whenever you are giving a presentation or you're giving a topic, always look at it in terms of frameworks, in terms of how do I break this thing down and still make a meaningful presentation without embarrassing myself. All right, now, why do people freeze under pressure, or why do people lose their line of thought under pressure? Now, the first thing that happens why people freeze under pressure is that they have this fear of being judged. I know that we've talked about this, but I think because this is a topic or a subtopic on its own, we're going to have to dissect it bit by bit. Why are people always scared or very, very focused on what people think about them? There is this mindset that I want to come out as a perfectionist, or I want to look very, very organized. I want to be, the ginger. I want to be the person that is infallible. And sometimes these things actually put people under undue pressure. And this is why people freeze, because instead of you to focus on the topic that was given to you, or think of the framework that you would use to be able to make a meaningful presentation, your mind starts telling you, what if you don't speak well? And people start judging you. What if they look at you as someone that don't know what you're saying? One mind will not say, are you sure you even know what you're saying? It's not you that God has been helping since that you're not using to do this work. Do you really think you know what you're doing? By the time you now start having this internal conflict, it starts affecting you. You start freezing. Fear creeps in from nowhere. All right. Now, the second point is fear of embarrassment. The fear of making mistakes or forgetting your words creates panic. People do not like being embarrassed. And that is why, as part of our company culture, we always emphasize that everyone here is a work in progress. No one is permitted to laugh or to make fun of anybody, because a person's ego is their strongest ally. In fact, you can beat someone, you can slap someone, but once whatever you do affects their ego, you have invariably almost killed that person. And that is why people say, oh, people don't joke with their ego. Or you hear people say that, oh, men are egocentric, or a lot of men have ego. Even women have ego. Every human being has ego. If you want to know that this ego thing is a real thing, look at when children are talking about their Christmas experience. My daddy bought me Jeep. My daddy bought me Ben 10 watch. My daddy bought me this. They are only saying these things because they want to boost their own personal appeal in front of their friends. They want to, look like someone who their daddy is really taking care of them. And the same thing happens to us as adults. Our greatest fear is being embarrassed. People don't like being embarrassed in public. You don't like being embarrassed before your peers. You don't like being embarrassed before your family. You don't like being embarrassed anywhere at all. And that's why some people will tell you that, do anything you want to do to me inside the house. But once we go outside, please don't embarrass me. Because one thing about embarrassment is that the feeling never leaves you, right? If you've ever had a public embarrassment before, probably via maybe social media, or you are being dragged for a scandal, that thing never leaves you. It becomes like a clog on your personality. It stays on you for a very long time. And that is why when you see people who have made mistakes in terms of communicating outside, when they get before a crowd, that scenario plays in their head, and it even triggers fear in them. All right, because they cannot forget the embarrassment that came with their first major embarrassment, or the feeling that came with their first major embarrassment. And so sometimes people would rather not even put themselves in that situation where they want to talk or communicate in public, because the fear of what they have experienced lives so strongly in their head that it becomes almost impossible for them to forget that memory. All right, and that is how traumas are built. So sometimes when a person has communication issues or public speaking issues, it's not necessarily because they don't know what to say. But sometimes when they travel down in memory lane, maybe when they were in secondary school or university, and they remember a scenario that was extremely embarrassing, that scenario begins to live rent-free in their head. The way people laughed at them, the way their friends made jest of them, the way they felt small in front of the class. And to make it worse, the way the lecturer even emphasized or capitalized on their error, even damping their self-esteem the most. All right. And so sometimes these mental traumas or these speaking experience traumas actually live with people throughout their lifetime. And so a person can be highly intelligent, very smart, knows everything that has to do with their field, but just because there is a trauma that has not been healed in their head, speaking in public becomes a near-death experience for them. They would rather die than relive that experience. And that is why people sometimes will tell you that glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. Research has shown that people will rather die than make a public presentation. Sometimes people choose death over making a public presentation. That's how serious glossophobia is for a lot of people. And not because public speaking is bad, or not because this person is an illiterate, but because of a past experience that has lived with them for so long that it becomes invariably impossible for them to live or to erase that experience from their head. All right. Now, another thing that we didn't talk about, which we are going to talk about here, is mental overload. Trying to think, speak, and impress at the same time overwhelms the brain. Now, there's something called, brain plasticity. People who are researchers will tell you that the brain is plastic, meaning that the brain can adjust, it's malleable. You can compound on a thought so well that the brain would expand that thought very, very well. The brain is like microscope. The moment you start digging into something, you will keep digging, and that thing you're looking for, you will find it. Permit me to bring in a scenario that is off what we are saying. It's just like how sometimes women will say, I know my husband is cheating on me, I want to go and check his phone. You know, she will not use her hand and give herself hypertension by going to check his phone, because the moment she starts looking at certain actions, the brain will start expanding on those actions. It's just like when you are melting plastic, right? That is how the brain moves. That is how the brain works. So the moment you are trying to overload your brain with so much information at the same time, the brain starts fighting that process. Okay, now how does this thing happen? Let me give you a classical example. Using the instance I was using about women going to go and check their husband's phone. First of all, it will come in as a thought. This one that this person doesn't have your time, why don't you go and check his phone? At first, your brain will fight that thought process. No, what if I see something that will break me? No, let me not go. I trust my husband, I trust my wife. Now, the brain has fought that thought initially. When the actions that triggers that thought process comes again, the brain would invariably now tell itself, but this thing is consistent. When this man come back, he used to stay like 4 hours inside the car. He will not come down immediately. What is he doing inside that car? This is the brain actually expanding on those thoughts. Now, I want us to understand how powerful this thing is, because that's the same thing that happens with presentations. That's the same thing that happens with communication. That's the same thing that happens with when you are put on the spot. At first, your brain is trying to compress everything it knows, and then it is also trying to make meaning out of what it knows. And if you do not control these things, that's where fear comes in. That is where anxiety comes in. That is where this thing called mental overload actually comes in. All right. Now, you see a woman who necessarily has no business doubting her partner, but because certain actions have stayed consistent, it begins to mold the brain to start attempting certain things that it would naturally not want to attempt. And that's the same thing that happens with when you are put on the spot to make a presentation, or when you're put on the spot to communicate. You start asking yourself questions like, okay, I want to think of speaking. What do I want to say? In thinking of what you want to say, there's a part of your brain that is also focused on, oh, I want to impress these people, because as human beings, by default, we are wired to impress. Every human being is wired to impress. Why do you think that women make their hair and men spend money on lavish clothes? Impress. If we're only one gender in this world, do you think that some of the things that are eating our money now will eat our money? I don't think so. I don't think a normal woman, if we're only women in this world, will wake up one day and say she wants to go and start making her hair, or she wants to go and start buying bone straights to impress you now, her fellow woman. It's not going to happen, right? But at the core of every human being is a classical need to impress. There is this need to impress. That's why people work multiple jobs, so they can have money to be able to live a certain lifestyle. That is why people, study, they want to go abroad, they want to do this, they want to do that, because it gives you fulfillment to be able to create a certain level of image about yourself in the society, right? It helps your own psychological safety. It gives you a sense of fulfillment when you are able to impress people. And that's the same thing that happens when you are speaking. Because you want people to know that you know these things, you are now focusing on the outcome. And one of the greatest things that can destroy a speaker is paying attention to the outcome more than the process. Sometimes we focus so much on the outcome that we do not even pay attention to the process. What does that mean? In the process, your main concern should be, how do I make meaning out of this topic that was given to me? That is the process. That is what you should focus on. Instead, what we are used to doing is that we focus on the process. We focus on the outcome rather. Oh, at the end of this presentation, I want people to come and shake me and tell me, oh boy, you did so well. Oh girl, that was excellent. This is you paying attention to the outcome. And sometimes the picture of that outcome actually envelops your mind so greatly that it becomes almost impossible for you to not lose your line of thought, because you are paying attention to the outcome and not the process. All right. So the first thing you need to do when it comes to impromptu presentation is to detach yourself from the outcome. I'm not focused on what people are going to say about me. My major focus is, how do I make meaning out of this topic that was given to me? How do I say something meaningful out of this topic that was put before me? How do I make a meaningful presentation? How do I teach somebody something out of this thing that was given to me? Or how do I share my line of thought out of this topic that was given to me without embarrassing myself? All right. Now, the next thing is lack of structure, and that is what this course is designed to do. I don't think that before now some of us actually know some of these structures that we talked about, right? Such as, the introduction, example, conclusion. Some of us might not have known that this framework exists, and that is why courses like this are there, to give you an in-depth solution to things that has to do with communication and public speaking. Because truly, everything that looks like a problem, there's a solution. But how do you know that a solution exists if you're not searching? Okay, now it's because of our terrain as Nigerians or as Africans. Sometimes we focus on things that helps you have outcome. What do I mean by this? Your classical educational structure is designed to give you a job. It is not designed to build you as a person. It is designed to give you a job, and a job is an outcome. Is that if I become a medical doctor, the outcome of this is that I can get a good job. That is why they'll tell you, go to school, graduate, and get a job. That is everything that has to do with Nigerians. And when it comes to making meaning out of your life, go to school, get a job, go to school, graduate, and get a good job. Is outcome. And so the educational system is structured in form of outcome and not development. All right, our educational system is structured in forms of outcomes and not development. But what we do at the Law Academy is development. The things that our schools miss is what we are trying to bridge. The gap that our schools miss is what we are trying to fill. And that is why we are the bridge between technical knowledge and human relationships. Because when we teach courses such as empathy, right, your ability to work with people from a standpoint of emotion, we teach you that human beings are 90% emotion or 90% emotional. So if you want to get the best out of any human being, you should deal with them from a place of emotion and not logic. Why do you think that two persons are hired as managers in the same company? One person cannot work with their team members and the other person can work with their team members. In fact, on one person's birthday, everybody in the company is buying them cake and perfume and ice cream and something, and then the other person is being almost overlooked. Why do you think these things happen? They happen because one person has been able to master the act of human relationship and the other person is dealing with people as robots. Right now, let's not diversify into emotional intelligence because that's a course on its own. But one thing that happens when it comes to why people freeze under pressure is lack of structure. And without a clear framework, ideas become scattered and hard to express. So like I said, throughout this course, we're going to be learning multiple frameworks and we're going to be applying those frameworks in our teachings. All right, so we're going to be calling persons impromptu, give you a framework and ask you to use that framework. That is how you internalize these things, right? Your ability to learn something and then know how to use them, sentence, use case, or your ability to use them on the go or emotion actually helps you internalize them better. All right, now another thing that makes people struggle or freeze under presentation is the ability to be perfect, wanting to sound perfect. Right, I know that we've talked about this, but we cannot overemphasize on this thing a lot. This thing is very dangerous. I'm telling you, the pressure to make people believe that you know what you're saying can actually make you not know what you're saying. Right, it now looks like a paradox situation, right? Because you are focusing so greatly on the outcome that you now lose the essence of what you were called to do. Okay, and because we've actually defined this, or we've actually talked about this perfectionism thing, right? I will not want to stress on it, but one thing you need to know and understand as a professional is that your goal is not perfection. Your aim is not to be perfect. Your aim is to take anybody, your listener, from point A to point B. Let's say, for instance, if you are called up in your team to give a presentation, right? The first thing you need to tell yourself is that these people do not understand anything about this topic. Now, even if they understand the topic, for you to be able to make a sensible presentation, you have to convince yourself that the persons you are speaking to do not know anything about the topic. Now, how do you help them know something about that topic? by using any of the frameworks we'll teach you. So let's say, for instance, if you are called to make a presentation and your goal is not perfectionism, but your goal is to be able to say something meaningful out of what was asked or what topic was given to you, what you would naturally do is, if you are given 2 minutes, you start with introduction, example, conclusion. All right, let's say, for instance, you are asked to give a presentation on the marketing or what your department is doing. Okay, you can start by introducing your department. Right now, just because you are in the organization doesn't mean that everyone in that organization knows where you work or the department you work in, especially people that work in multinational companies or companies that have, you know, a huge staff or a huge team. Sometimes people can see you every day at work, but they don't know your department, they don't know the office you occupy, they don't know the office where you serve and all of that. So the first thing you need to do is to introduce yourself. My name is Mary Gold. I'm the team lead for the brand communication department. And you have introduced yourself. All right, you now go over to introducing the subject matter that you were asked to talk about. Okay, now let's say if I was asked to talk about what my team is doing, I can say currently we are in Q2 and we've been able to move our target audience from knowing about our brand to showing interest in what we are offering. Now, I'm trying to think about these things in terms of the likely questions that you can be asked. But one thing you need to understand is that for every topic that is given to you as a professional, your own point or your own strength or the reason why you are taking this class is so that you don't dwell so much on the outcome that you now want to lose your line of thought. Okay, always move from what you know and how you can take people from point A to point B. Simple. No too much drama inside the thing. Focus on how you can take a listener from point A to point B. Now let's give, for instance, TEDx talks are more, complicated forms of presentation because it requires a different framework on its own when you are making TEDx presentations or when you're making planned presentations. All right, but for things like impromptu presentation, your major focus should be on how do you take people from point A to point B. How do you help this novice understand what this concept is all about without them focusing, without overstressing them or overstressing yourself. All right, so as a professional, your goal should not be perfectionism. Your goal should be solving what is the psychology of panic, because sometimes we don't understand that all of these things are psychological. Right, there's this thing that they say that every defeat is psychological. Until death, every defeat is psychological. What does that mean? That the moment you internalize a bad experience, it lives in your head rent-free. Right, that is why this quote is very powerful, that until death, every defeat is psychological. The only thing that is an actual experience is when somebody dies. That's like an out-of-body experience. This person literally has died. There is no cajoling that can bring this person back into reality or into our realm of existence as human beings. But every other thing you experience that looks like a loss is a psychological loss. Okay, now what is the psychology of panic? When people are put on the spot, the brain often interprets it as a threat. Now, one thing you need to know about antibodies in our system is that our body is naturally designed to protect itself from external factors or external things. Okay, so when something comes to you unexpectedly, your brain's first interpretation is threat. All right, this thing is threatening your stability. Now, what is stability? Stability is the ability for you to stay calm under pressure. Now, when certain things happen to you or certain experiences happen, the first thing your body does is to see it as a threat. Okay, now your brain often interprets things as threats and activities. All right, now let me take this again. When people are put on the spot, the brain often interprets it as a threat and activates the fight or flight response. Now, there are persons that practice fight or flight, right? What does this mean? Is that when a person is put under a spot or they are put in an uncomfortable position, they will rather run away than attempt that thing. And that is why they will say that some people are fear, right? You are being presented with a problem, and instead of you to face that problem head on, you would rather run away, because this is how your brain has been conditioned over time to respond to things. Okay, and that is why sometimes when we call persons impromptu, okay, can you make a presentation on this? And sometimes they stay quiet or they are not responding. It is the fight and flight motion that is happening. All right, the moment you are frightened, the first thing your brain will do is run, because the brain and the body is conditioned to think about life in forms of safety. You want to be safe first before you're attempting anything that feels like an out-of-body experience. All right, now the brain also does this when it comes to impromptu presentation, and that's why some persons, when you call them to make a video, tell you, oh no, I don't have anything to say. Sorry, excuse me. Because that is how their brain was wired to solve problems. The moment they are uncomfortable, instead of trying to ask them, what do I know about this topic, they will rather run away completely than I'm to know is a flighting. And it also happens, do you understand? Now, this is the body's natural survival reaction to pressure or perceived danger. Like I said, the body was designed to save itself. They didn't have to save itself. Why do you think why you hear no? Consider your child, run first and leave your child. You know, even husband and wife, some women have quarreled their husband because the man left them and there was danger and the man left them and ran away. And the woman is quarreling the man. But she doesn't understand that by default, the human brain is wired to run at every single uncomfortable situation. The brain is wired to fight, to be able to avoid that situation. Is because your brain has a default flight response, but because you are put on the spot in front of professionals, but just because the brain now has understood that there is no running in this thing, it will now condition itself to stay. But even as it is staying, right, it is staying from a place of fear. It is staying from a place of, what if I make mistakes? Now, this is the psychology of panic, because you have been conditioned to run. And because you are in front of professionals or in front of an organizational conference and you cannot run, since the brain knows that there is no escape route from this situation, it starts sending signals into your body, signals that come in form of panic, anxiety. Your head will start shaking, your hand will start shaking, your head will start shaking, your hand will start shaking. Okay, these things are the psychology of panic. This is how panic happens. All right, now what are common panic responses? And if you can relate to some of these things, you know, I'll be very glad that some of us can actually have a reflection as to our own panic response. All right, some persons, their own panic response is fast heartbeat. Now the heart beats faster to pump more blood and prepare the body for action. All right, why do you think that when someone, you know, they'll say, don't give me hypertension, oh, don't give me hypertension? That is how your body reacts to panic. That is a panic response. Or maybe you are in the house and then you hear a loud scream, your child screams or your partner screams. Immediately your heart will jump. And sometimes even people that prank their partner a lot, or you prank your partner with these things, or your child pranks you with these things, even when they tell you it's a prank, that your heartbeat does not come down because they said it's a prank. Your heartbeat will take some time to calm down. Do you understand? That your heartbeat will invariably take some time to calm down. That your heartbeat will take, oh my God, sometimes when a person is put under a fear situation and your heart has skipped a beat, right? Even after you've been able to gain control over that situation, it will take a while for your heartbeat to calm down. It will take a while for your heartbeat to normalize. And that's the same thing that happens in communication and presentation. Sometimes when you are put on the spot, even after you finish giving that presentation, you can go back to your seat and your heart is still beating fast. You can go back to your seat and your legs are still shaking because your body was panicked. All right, so I need us to understand that these reactions are normal. This is the body's natural response to panic. Okay, so when you start experiencing these things, or when you are put on the spot, you don't feel like it's an out-of-body experience. You don't start feeling like, oh, Mary God wants to kill me, or this my boss wants to kill me, how can they come in to talk impromptu? No, Your body is only reacting naturally to a panic situation, which is very, very okay. It happens to the best of us. All right. Now, what is the second common panic response? Dry throat. Some persons, the moment you call them to make an impromptu presentation or you call them to speak impromptu, their throats will just dry once. They will lose their line of. In fact, the way the thing, the way the throat will dry, they'll start looking for water. They'll say, "Hey, it's like I'm gasping for air. Can somebody give me water? Please, are they selling water here?" So sometimes then they'll tell you that, okay, you're going to be making a presentation in the very okay. You were calm, you were stable. But the moment they told you that thing, your throat became dry. All right. So as I'm calling these panic responses, I want you to be reflecting on your own and the one that is most common to you. Now, the third one is blank mind. Okay. Under pressure, the brain struggles to access information clearly, causing mental blocks. Why do you think that some persons will tell you that, oh, I knew what to say, but I did not know how to bring it out. Now, the moment you leave that, some people will now say, oh, it's my village uncle. My village uncle has been doing me since he said he's going to disgrace me in this life. He has finally succeeded. It's a lie. It's your body's response to fear. All right? It is your body's natural response to panic. It is how your body responds naturally by default. That is how it responds to these things. Why do you think that sometimes when there is a case with the police and persons are arrested, for instance, and you're taken to the station and they ask you, what happened? You know, sometimes the gravity of the situation can make you go blank. And then they will not start saying, you don't know what to say? You don't know what to say? Okay, you are guilty. Meanwhile, you could have actually said something to vindicate yourself. But because you were put under pressure, your mind could not even recall the situation and how it happened for you to be able to vindicate yourself. Okay? Now, these things are natural things. And it happens even in presentations. It happens even in communication, that at the end is flight. Its default response is panic. All right. Now, another thing is shaky voice. There are persons that when they are put under pressure, all right, they start shaking, their voice will start trembling. And under shaky voice, we have the adrenaline can create tension in the body, making the voice sound unstable or shaky. All right. Now, why is it that when somebody has run to you and there's a situation, you have to tell the person, calm down, calm down, calm down. No, just calm down, just calm down. You know, they'll say, auntie, auntie, auntie. You say, calm down, calm down. That person doesn't talk like that naturally. But because of the situation, adrenaline has built up in the person and it has made the person's communication unstable. Okay. Now, these are some examples of panic responses. All right, these are some reactions that happens in your body due to panic, and it also happens in communication. So you can see that impromptu presentation is one of the closest experiences to real life panic situations. I'll take that again. Impromptu presentation is one of the closest, expressions of real life panic situations, because at that instance your body is put under an unplanned pressure, and this is the same thing that happens in a real world panic situation. So if danger happens now, the way your body will react to that danger is the same way your body reacts to impromptu presentations. Now, I'm trying to lay a very solid foundation on this thing so that you can really understand that these things are very natural. These things are things that happens to every human being. Even the best speakers will tell you that the first 2-3 minutes of their presentation, they are always scared, right? Some people will tell you the first 1 minute, the first 30 seconds of their presentation, they're always scared. And it happens to everybody. So if you experience it, don't make it feel like, it is peculiar to just you. It is not peculiar to only you, all right? Now, these reactions are common stress responses, not signs of incompetence or inability. Like I said, this is your body reacting naturally to stress responses, and it doesn't mean you are incompetent, and it also doesn't mean that you are what? That you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have the ability to perform properly. All right, now what is the 3-step that everyone who is trying to get better at impromptu presentation should internalize? All right, it is called the 3-step calm reset method. This is how you get calm when you are put under pressure. It is a reset mechanism that helps you get your line of thought when you are put under pressure. All right, it is called the 3-step calm reset method. Now, the 3-step calm reset method is a simple technique used to quickly manage your nerves and regain control before speaking in an impromptu situation. Okay, now, you know that sometimes they say that, okay, this person is being dramatic, but for some people, when they are put under pressure, you see them doing things like this. You know, they are trying to calm themselves. And now, because they are doing that thing, and then somebody looking at them like, this one done the colo, abi, waiting they happen. This is them trying to calm themselves, right? Some persons will start speaking positive words to themselves. Oh, I'm the best at what I do. You know, my mind is stable. I have a sound mind. My mind is focused. I know what I'm doing. I have the answer to this problem. This stay in control because you are actually in control. All right, now let's look at what the 3-step calm reset method actually means. Now, it helps speakers interrupt their panic response and replace it with calm, intentional action. Now, I'll take this again. The 3-step calm reset method is a simple technique used to quickly manage nerves and regain control. Now, the reason why we say regain is because when you are put on the spot, you actually lose control. You know, for a certain period of time, you lose control. Your body is scared, right? But with the 3 calm reset method, use the gain control. Speak in this helps interrupts their panic response. Now, everything about being to express is pattern disruption to say to something already happening. You know, positive or negative. The negative is we have a calm day and something happens and processes that can actually disrupt you and what you have to say. But you know, interrupt that thought by saying, I'm the best at what I do. I don't struggle to make meaning out of what I have to say. I'm in control of my body and my mind. Have something meaningful to tell the world. This world is better because I'm here. Disrupting that thought process. And it's a thing because, you know, for us actors of the mouth. So I'm saying you can enter the studio. Please, can somebody confirm that you can hear me? Let me be sure that it's not my network that is causing this thing. Please, can you confirm that you can hear me? Maybe unmute yourself. Angela, I did you trust me? Okay, please, if you cannot speak, can you just put it up? Okay, all right, thank you very much. Right, so now, one thing you need to understand is that you are in control of your mind, you are in control of your thoughts, you are in control of your patterns, you are in control of everything that happens in your brain. But your ability to now to do these things consciously actually makes you a more stable person. Okay, why do you think that people dwell so much on self-defeating thoughts, and these thoughts now become self-fulfilling prophecies? All right, because whatever you dwell on becomes your reality. If you are called to make a presentation and you focus on not embarrassing yourself, you will end up embarrassing yourself. Yes, you will. Yes, you will embarrass yourself so much. Do you understand? Because that is what your mind is focusing on. That is what your thought process dwells on. But if you are called to make a presentation, and even if that thought comes upon you, like, what if I embarrass myself? And you not tell yourself, the possibility of embarrassing myself is there, but I have a sound mind. I'm here to do these people a favor. What I have to say is meaningful. You will see that thought, it will just vanish by itself, because you have projected what you want, right? The louder thought in your mind becomes so predominant that it shrinks the other thoughts that has been dwelling in your head. All right, this is how you can reset your mind. This is how you can manage pressure. This is how you can calm your mind. All right, so the 3-step calm reset method is a simple technique used to quickly manage nerves and regain control before speaking in an impromptu situation. It helps speakers interrupt their panic responses and replace it with calm, intentional action. Now, what does it mean in practice? Now, if you want to do the 3-step reset method, the first thing you need to do is to pause. All right, that is the first step in trying to calm your thought process, right? Instead of reacting immediately, take 2 to 3 seconds to settle yourself and think. Okay, now one thing you need to understand, and I know that was one of in our activities in the group, that somebody asked a question and I said, the more calmer you are, or the longer pauses you take, the more confident you appear as as someone that is making a presentation or someone that is speaking. Because if you are able to pause, people do not know what is going on in your head. All right, for some persons, when you take a pause, you are actually giving your brain and your body time to settle down. So when you want to effectively practice the 3-step calm reset method, the first step there is to take a moment and pause. Okay, when you pause, you have been able to disrupt that panic. All right, now the second thing is to breathe. Take one slow breath to reduce tension. Why do you think that people say, oh, take a deep breath? Sometimes you can be truly going through a panic situation, and the moment you take a deep breath, your body will just calm down, right? Just like how people will do. When you do those things, you will see that your body will calm down. Now, when you have been able to control your body by taking a deep breath, and you have been able to clear your thought process, the next line of action is you have to start slowly. Okay, but what happens to us is that when we are put under pressure and they tell you, okay, can you tell me what you know about this topic? Immediately you start, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to understand that my name is Meriko Okoye. I'm the founder of the Law Academy. And the Law Academy, we help professionals master the art of communication and public speaking. Then you now start thinking again. So after that, what else do I know? What else? Can you see I did not pause? I did not take a break. I wasn't calm. I was rushing. I was rushing because I want to conclude fast so that I don't make mistakes. It doesn't show confidence and professionalism. Instead, someone who is very psychological, understands what is happening, will know that you're not responding and not disgrace yourself. And sometimes in that burst of expression, you can be going so well in the presentation and then immediately you go blank. And it has happened to the best of us. Okay? Because once you exhaust what you know, your body is not calm enough to actually bring up another thing. Instead, you have run into the topic without thinking about how do I attack and approach this topic in such a way that even if I'm giving 5 minutes to speak, I can stretch my points into these 5 minutes that I don't lose my line of thought. But you've run to say what you know without taking a deep breath or without trying to stay calm, that when you exhaust what you know, what you don't know will not start staring at the audience. Right? You will not start looking at them. You know how this cartoon will be shining eye. You'll be shining eye. The person will be shining eye. They'll be looking at you because you started well. People are adjusting themselves to actually hear what you want to say. And then you now lose your line of thought. Then you now start with, sorry, you know, I was, sorry, please, just, sorry, please. And they're like, the first sorry you say, they'll look at you like, okay. The second sorry is, Oginekwa, this person, okay. The third sorry is, what is going on? The first thing is, okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for him. Please, can you go back to your seat, sir? You will not take a walk of shame because you did not practice this reset method, because you did not know how to put your body on that calm and, you know, relaxed way to be able to make a presentation and talk without losing your line of thought. Right. Now, I'm going to try to dwell on this start slowly because we all know what taking a pause means. We all know what breathing means. We all breathe every day. But starting slowly in an impromptu presentation, it means begin speaking at a controlled pace so your mind can catch up with your words. All right? Now, why do you think that some persons, when you ask them a question and they'll tell you, thank you very much for that question, why do you think they say that? Have you ever really asked yourself why people say, oh, thank you very much for that question? And then sometimes they take like 1 minute or 2 minutes pause before they start talking. Now, because people do it all the time, it now looks like this thing is part of this script. You know, we live in a very scripted generation that when people do certain things, we don't really understand the psychology behind what they are doing. We're looking at it from a place of, okay, that was what your script told you to do. So when we ask you this question, you will now tell them, thank you very much for that question. And it does not look so scripted. But the reason why people take pauses or why people say, thank you very much for that question, is that the moment you acknowledge the question or you acknowledge the situation, it invariably has a way of making your brain stable. Because you've acknowledged it. All right? You've acknowledged the situation. You've acknowledged the speaker. You've acknowledged the question. Now, this question is no more coming to you as a surprise. You are aware of what is going on. That's the psychology behind that statement. Thank you very much for this question. It is not a script. It is acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is a calming effect. Acknowledgement creates a calming effect in the mind, right? Why are people afraid? You are afraid of the unknown. You are scared of what you don't know. But the moment you acknowledge a situation, you're no more afraid of it. Why do you think that certain things make you scared? But the moment you accept, you're no longer scared of it. For instance, some people are scared of going broke. And so it makes them walk around the clock like a machine that wants to die. But the moment you realize that when you leave this world, you're not living with anything. Like you came naked, you will go naked. All the money you're making in this world, it will stay in this world. You're not more scared of going broke. Instead, you are more focused on building a legacy for your family, for your children, for the persons that would bear your name, right? And now you're doing these things from a place of love, not trying to create validation. That's the same thing that happens in communication. The moment you acknowledge a situation, the situation loses hold over you. It loses that power it has on you. It doesn't make you scared anymore. It makes you more confident. It makes you more calm, because when you acknowledge something, it means you are aware. Do your worst. I know what is going on. All right? That's the same thing that happens in impromptu speaking. That's the same thing that happens in presentations. The moment you start slowly by acknowledging the situation or the question, you are now coming from a place of awareness. It's no more fear. It's no more fright. It's no more panic. It's awareness. And awareness makes you attack things in a more logical point of view. Right? The moment you are able to handle things from a place of logic, fear disappears. Because if I know that I'm aware of this thing, the first thing I need to ask myself is, how do I solve this? Now, I'm aware of a situation. This is a situation that I'm aware of. It is not taking me by surprise anymore. Impromptu presentation is the same thing. It happens in such a way that when people take you by surprise, your body begins to counter-react because you don't know what to do. But the moment you are aware that this is an impromptu presentation and you need to save yourself and you need to make something meaningful out of this, you are acknowledging the situation, and the next thing you need to tell yourself is, what do I know and what value can I give? Okay? So instead of rushing to make a presentation, start slowly. Stay calm. Ask yourself, now that I am aware of what they want me to do and the topic they want me to, speak on, how do I start in such a way that, I'm able to control my thoughts and still carry the audience along? These things take time to perfect, but that is why frameworks are there. And that is why we have frameworks such as, the introduction, the example, conclusion. These are frameworks, or the one that we looked at, introduction, main point 1, main point 2, conclusion. This is what frameworks does for you, right? The moment you acknowledge the situation, now you can stay calm. Now you can start slowly and you can give a better presentation. But if you rush into the whole thing, your heart is beating you've not been able to catch your breath, and then you're trying to end as quickly as possible. In 90% of the situation, you realize that you'll not be able to have a good end. You'll not be able to end well. You'll not be able to conclude logically or conclude intelligently. And that is even what communicates, lack of composure or fear. All right. Now, why does this thing work? This framework or this 3-step calm reset method works because when people panic, right, they often rush. If you are afraid of something, the first thing you want to do is run. And what is run? Taking a hasty step, right? Running is taking a hasty step. What is running? Running is you taking a hasty step. So the energy that you use and walk 10,000 kilometers, for instance, when you are running, you are trying to cover that same distance in a shorter period of time. All right? That's the same thing that happens with communication. People rush into things. They want to rush and talk. Now, they now start overthinking. All right? So when people panic, they often rush, they overthink, and they lose clarity. But with the 3-step reclaim reset method, or rather with the 3-step calm reset method, right, it helps you slow down your body first, which helps your mind become clearer. Now, remember that when I started, I told us that we must master the act of staying calm internally before we can project calmness externally. All right? It's just like when they say charity begins at home. Confidence begins at home, and that at home is inside your mind. Okay? So if you're not able to calm your mind internally first, it will show in your external disposition. Now, with this 3-step calm reset method, it teaches you to calm your body first, because that's the vehicle that delivers the presentation. And you know that your body is made up of your mind, your soul, your spirit. All right? Now, as a human being, you have the full autonomy over what you think and how you react. I'll take that again. As a human being, you have full autonomy over what you think and how you react. So in every situation, the first thing you need to do is to learn to calm your own body first. No one is going to do that for you. And that is why in sales and marketing, they'll tell you that anybody who wants it first always loses. It's sales psychology. It teaches you that the person who is more desperate for the outcome always loses the deal. All right? So if I'm trying to sell you something and you come off as the desperate one, I will lynch on your desperation. And human beings can lynch on your desperation a lot. The moment people know that a person is desperate, they will lynch on that desperation and they will do you shaggy. Sorry, but I had to use that word, right? The moment people see you from a place of desperation, they will lynch on that desperation and they would win that thing. Why? Because they've been able to tap into what you want. They can see that you want this thing. And so they will start counter-reacting. They will start treating you from a place of the desperate one. Do you understand? Now, let me use something that we all can relate to. Same thing happens in relationships, right? When a person feels like, oh, this person wants this relationship more than I do, they will start treating you from a place of desperation. And why do you think that people will say, oh, you were not like this when you started? We're not like this when we started. Do you understand? Because people are able to sense when a person is being desperate. And they will treat you from that point of desperation. So even your body also knows when you are desperate for the outcome. And it will react based on that desperation. Now, the reason why I'm using this instance, sorry, give me a second, please. Just give me a second. Let me fix my lights. Sorry. Okay. So bad. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. So when your body knows that you are desperate for the outcome, right? Your own body now can start working against you, right? Because your body knows that you are also desperate for the outcome. And that desperation now makes you behave in an uncontrolled manner. Do you understand? So this is how you can use the 3-step calm reset method. Okay, so in every speaking situation, the most important thing you need to do is to take control of your body. The moment you take control of your body now takes control of your speech, and your speech is your speech becomes clearer and better because you've been able to take control. All right, everything is about control. Everything in communication and presentation is your ability to control the situation. It's your ability to control the narrative. It's your ability to keep yourself under check. All right. So I have to go to the next slide because we've dwelt extensively on this 3-step calm reset method. All right. Now the next one is question and answer. Okay, because I do believe that we are already an hour 45 minutes into the class, so we have 15 minutes for the class to come to an end. All right, so just before we take questions and answer, please, if you are still in the class, drop your name in the chat box. We've taken the first set of attendance, and I told us that, or rather my assistant, that's the programs coordinator, mentioned that we take attendance in 2 batches. All right, the first batch is when you come into the class, right? We saw your names when you came into the class. Now, to know this aid to enable so our name in, all right, name in the chat, but that we are aware you are in class. Okay, just join so that we know the persons that stayed till this time. Now, one thing with us is that we are very big on attendance, right? Because, and then somebody asks you if you have, what have you done to solve this problem? And you say, oh, I took a course in one of these academies and I did not get anything. You are actually jeopardizing our own reputation, because to the best of our ability, we are doing justice to every single topic or every single, speaking concern, right? Or every single aspect of this whole communication thing. Now, the best thing you can do for us is to attend class. And that is the reason why, like we said initially, this class is not a free class. And that is the reason why it is not a recorded class, because we want active participation. All right, so I can see, and please, the way we write our attendance is you write your name in full. I know that my the programs coordinator Jovel actually dropped the link to, what's it called now, our student biodata, which is how you want your name to appear in your certificate. Okay, so that is how we take attendance. When you come into the class, please write your name the way you have it on your biodata, because if we have 1 or 2 persons who bear the same name, we will not know the particular person that is in the class. Okay, so please drop your name the way you want it to appear in your student biodata, because that is how we have your name at our own back end. We don't have your name in abbreviations, we have your name in full. All right, so please drop your name in full. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So please, if you have a question, right, we have already done a scenario at the beginning of the class, but I actually want to ask a question, and I want someone to use the framework we taught in class to answer the question. Okay, so what was the framework we taught in class? Now let me go back to it, because these things happen very quickly, but let me go back to the framework that we taught in class. Right, this is the framework we taught in class, which is introduction, main point 1, main point 2, and conclusion. All right, so I want to ask a question, and I want someone to use this framework and answer the question. I want someone to use introduction, main point 1, main point 2 to answer the question. And this question is going to be for 2 minutes, right? So I'll be the timekeeper. Yes, I'll be the one to time this person, right? So I'm going to call someone. I'll do tumbum baskala and pick someone randomly, right? I'll ask you a question, and you will use this simple framework to answer it. Now, for today's class, I'm going to leave the framework projected because we are just getting into these things. But as we go deeper into the course, when you're asked a question and you're expected to answer the question with a framework, I'm going to take down the framework. So it means that after each class, that's why there's like a 1-day interval in every class. You have to go back and become a part of you. All right, so I'm going to be calling Mr. Ademola. Okay, you are our timekeeper. You were our timekeeper, right? So I'm going to be calling Mr. Ademola. Please, can you teach us the 3-step calm reset method using introduction, main point 1, main point 2, and conclusion? All of us here have about the 3-step calm, reset, and we teach us using this framework: introduction, main point 1, main point 2, and conclusion. Please, we need, this is 2 minutes. All right, so I'm timing it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes,
Okay,
I
so
can hear you
the
now.
3-point method
Okay.
to calm yourself is a method of relaxing your nerves and gaining your composure when you're put on the spot to make an impromptu presentation. The first method is taking a pause. You don't just rush into making a presentation. You take a pause, not too long, a few seconds, gather your thoughts, structure your words, structure your thoughts, structure what you want to say, then go ahead and make that presentation using any framework of your choice. Another method is taking deep breath. When you take deep breaths, your body calms down, it calms your nerves, it reduces the panic you feel, it slows down your breathing so that you're not in a panic mode, you're not shaking, your voice is not trembling. Apologies. The third step, I didn't hear it because my network was bad. But those were the two out of the three methods for calming your nerves that I got. So in conclusion, when you are put on the spot to make a presentation, everybody, even the best of the best speakers, experience some level of panic, some level of stage fright. But if you apply this 3-step method to calm yourself, you'll be able to deliver your presentation and not embarrass yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you ended in exactly 2 minutes. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Even though you cannot clap loudly, let's just clap for him. And well done. That was pretty interesting. But I would want to ask someone to summarize what you said. Let's be sure that we are also practicing active listening. All right. So I'll be calling on Sir Aliu to summarize, right? So can you summarize what you said? Thank you.
Hello, good day all. I think what
Please go ahead.
Ademola has just said, he has said it all.
Good evening, sir.
And in the summary, he just try as much as possible to give us a structured way of addressing impromptu, presentation by way of, thinking and making it in as much as possible presentable within the shortest possible time. In fact, we're likely to face some challenges in terms of making any speech that we are not prepared to do. And these challenges are, can be handled using 3 ways. Either we take a pause for a few seconds, or we take a deep breath, or we try as much as possible to start slowly but calmly. Because without controlling the mindset, without internalizing that control, there is no way we can make a very good presentation. That's what he said. Thank you very much. Hello, I'm done. Hello? 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 Hello?
I think she has dropped
Hello?
off the call.
Were you able to hear me? Were you able
We
to
heard
hear me? You
we
heard
heard
me?
you.
Okay,
Yes, but I
good.
think the person has dropped off the call.
I think we're having some network challenge.
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Please, can you hear me now? Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you, Ma.
Okay, okay. I'm so sorry. Please, you know that MTN and our service providers can really be a lot sometimes, right? So I had to flip my network again. I'm so sorry. I didn't really hear what you said, sir, but I know that the part that I got, you were able to talk about how Mr. Ademola mentioned that we can use, structures to make our presentation without losing our line of thought. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, 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 Ma.
Okay, okay. Please, I don't know if you said something else, but for the persons that heard Sir Aliu's, contribution to what Mr. Ademola said, please, what do you think? Did he do justice to it? Angela, please, can you help us? Angela, please, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, yes. Good
Ye-
evening. Please, can you
Good
hear me?
evening. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So, do you think Mr. Aliu did justice to what Mr. Ademola shared, and why?
Yes. To be honest, I didn't really get what he said because the line was actually breaking all through the stories. The line has been breaking. I'm trying to just pick. So, but I think he made justice to what he said.
Okay. So you know that when when you are asked questions like if someone did justice to something, it means that you are being an eyewitness. All right. So as an eyewitness, you did not hear what he said, and you're confirming that he
I
did
know.
justice to it. On
I,
what basis
I,
are you making your confirmation?
I, I had some parts. I had some part,
Okay.
but I don't really
Please.
want to go into details and miss out the main points. That's why I said I know he did justice, to be honest.
Oh, you are trying to be smart. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. No problems. Thank you very much, everyone who participated. All right. So, the whole idea of these things is to help us internalize what we are learning. All right. That's the whole idea. Asking that we use frameworks to teach and to make a presentation or to share an idea is just so that we are internalizing what we are learning, because at the end of the day, attending a class is way different from internalizing that class. All right, so we have a few minutes to go, but from the names I can see on the chat, right, I do know that Jovel is here. Jovel, please confirm to me that you are still on the call. Just confirm probably in the chat that you're still on the call, because I want you to take the attendance from the persons that I can see their names in the chat box. So I can see Angela Oguchi, right? Angela Oguchi. I can see Ademola Okunaya. All right. I do not know if any other person has dropped their names, but I know that I'm seeing Sir Aliu at the back end, right? Shayu, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I struggle with names a lot. That's why I called him once I can present. I can remember. But I know it's Sir Aliu. But sir, please, can you do us a favor of letting us know how to pronounce your name properly so that these things don't happen again? Because we're going to be calling our names often, right? Please just help me with the pronunciation of the first name. Thank you.
I think the first name is Aliu Shuaibu.
Okay,
Ma,
Shuaibu.
Shuaibu Aliu.
Okay, Shuaibu Aliyu.
Yes, this yeah, exactly.
Okay, Shuaibu Aliyu. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So we have Sir Shuaibu Aliyu. We have Jovel Cyril, Angela Oguchi, right? If I'm correct. Then we have Ademola Okunaya, right? Mr. Ademola, please, did I pronounce your surname correctly? I cannot keep apologizing for not pronouncing people's names correctly, and that's very
Yes, you
wrong. So
did. It's
please,
fine.
okay, Okunaya, is that it?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So we have Mr. Ademola Okunaya, we have Angela Oguchi, we have Mr. Aliu, we have Jovel Cyril. Who else am I seeing here? Okay, so I think these are the names I can see in the chat, right? Some persons joined and left. We've taken the first attendance. Right now, we measure our attendance by the percentage of time you spend on the call, not just because you came and left, but the percentage of time you spend, because what we did in introduction and what we have learned after the or towards the ending of the class is not always the same thing. All right, and that is why it's important for us that we are able to stay throughout the class. It's just a 2 hours class, and the whole idea is to make sure that we all internalize these things and we become great ambassadors of the law academy. So please, I don't know if we have any questions because it's already 9 o'clock, right? If we can take questions and answer. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself. Let me add everyone to stage, because if I don't add you to the stage, you will not be able to use your mic without indicating. So please, if you have any questions, kindly ask so that we can take questions and answer for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we call it a day. All right. So if you have any questions, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask your question. Thank you very much. Okay, so usually when there are no questions, it often means that the teacher or the trainer or the facilitator did justice to the topic. Is that what you are trying to tell me? Are you trying to are you trying to say that justice was done to the topic? Those in favor say
Hello.
aye.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, please.
I I wanted to ask this question, but something is just telling me to maybe I should hold on till maybe in the middle of maybe after like 2 or 3 classes. I don't know whether
Okay,
you
please
attend
ask the
to it.
question. Please
But
ask the
what I want to
question.
ask is,
Mm-hmm.
like when we're talking about the stage flight and anxieties and all those stuff and how to overcome them. But in a situation like you are called impromptu to give a speech, and to the honest truth is that you really can't figure out what to say, because I believe it's only when you know maybe what to say, you now try to get words to fit in what you want to say. But in a situation where you can't really just figure out what to say, what do you do at that point? I don't know.
So if I got you correctly, you're asking that what can a person do if they are called impromptu and you genuinely do not know what to say?
Know what to say? Yes, yes.
So one thing I do know about impromptu presentation is that it usually happens within the context of environments where you are naturally supposed to know what to say. How do I mean? if you are called to make an impromptu presentation at a wedding toast, let's say for instance they call you to come and give a toast to the couple, all right, by default one thing you should ask yourself is, what do I know about this couple? I do know that people don't attend weddings just to go and eat rice. At least you must know either the husband or the wife, all right? So if you want to give a toast in a situation like that, you can start by appreciating God, right, and then wishing the couple well, and going ahead to say what you know just to add a little spice to it, and you end. All right. If the situation is at work, for instance, and you are called to make an impromptu presentation on a topic, I do know that most supervisors or managers usually ask questions within the context of what you know, right? But let's just say for some strange reason you are asked a question and you don't know what to say. I think the most noble thing to do is to actually professionally admit that you need some time to get your thoughts clearly on this and get back to them. All right. So let's say, for instance, if I'm asked a question in geophysics and I do not have any knowledge about geophysics, for instance, what I will have to do is acknowledge the question. Oh, thank you very much for that question, but I currently do not have sufficient information on this topic. Do you mind if I do a little research and get back to you on this? Simple. I feel it becomes more embarrassing when you do not acknowledge and admit. All right. Now, it becomes more embarrassing when you do not acknowledge and admit. Okay. And one thing with impromptu presentations is that silence makes it extremely awkward. The more silent you are, the more awkward it becomes. Okay. But your ability to feel that silence with honesty actually makes you a great speaker or a great individual or a great professional. All right. There is no glory in trying to prove what you're not. If somebody asks you a question on a topic that you are not aware of, and you genuinely have searched your mind and nothing is coming up, the best you can do is to admit that nothing is, you don't have any information on this. All right. And I told you how I would say it. Thank you very much for this question. I honestly do not have sufficient information on this. Can I take some time to research on this and get back to you? Simple. All right. Now, the reason why people attempt making an impromptu presentation is because you know something about this thing. And if you set your mind and you calm your nerves, you can actually make a presentation and you can actually say something. But in a situation like you mentioned, that you have searched your head, you have tried, and the topic is above what you know or is beyond what you know, the best you can do is to acknowledge the situation and admit that you don't know it, and life goes on, right? I hope that answers your question, because that's the most logical thing to do. But if you stay silent, if you stay quiet, it makes it more embarrassing. What makes people feel embarrassed in impromptu presentations is that you are aware, and that is why it's always good for you to take some time to calm down, to pause. And that's why we taught this in the 3-step calm method, right? Calm reset method. When you pause, is you questioning your mind. It's just like when you use ChatGPT. For persons that use ChatGPT, right? When you use ChatGPT and you put a question, ChatGPT, no matter how intelligent it is, doesn't answer you immediately. It will take some time first. Then next thing, start typing out the answer. That's the same thing that human beings, that's what you're supposed to teach your brain to do. When you ask a question, you take some time to ask yourself, what do I know about this topic? And when you have genuinely searched your mind and realized that you don't know anything about the topic, then the best you can do is to acknowledge the question and admit that you don't know anything, and request for some time to make research on it and get back to the person. And that's it. It's not that deep. Jigger. I hope this answers your question, Angela.
Yes, yes, it do. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, please, does anybody have any other question? Do we have any other questions? We'll be ending the class in 2 minutes because we said questions will last for 10 minutes. So if we do not have any other questions, I would want to sincerely appreciate every single person who joined the class today. Thank you very much for your commitment to what we are doing, to getting better right, to be a part of this learning process, one thing I would like to say is, once you have identified the problem and you found a solution, which is this course you're taking, please put your mind to it, right, and get the best out of it. Like we mentioned during our onboarding session, you have 1 month access to the academy. All right. So after these 6 days elapses, today is day one, we still have 5 classes to go. After these 6 days of learning elapses, we have 1 month free scenario playing situations. All right, ask questions. We can do our, we have access to ask questions every day, but live calls happens only on Saturdays, right? So if you want to practice scenarios, or you want us to help you run through anything you are preparing for, you have access to the academy for 1 month. All right. So our earnest desire is that this communication challenge is no more a challenge for each and every one of us, and we sincerely want to appreciate you for staying up till this time and for being a part of this class. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Our next class is going to be on Thursday, but before our next class, our programs coordinator would communicate to the group or any other person who has an official, post to make or information to pass. We'll do that on the group. Once again, we sincerely appreciate you, and from all of us at the Law Academy, we say thank you for doing this with us, and we will see you in our next class. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.